topics and opinions expressed in the following show are solely those of the host and their guests and not those of W4CY Radio, its employees, or affiliates. We make no recommendations or endorsements for radio show programs, services, or products mentioned on air or on our web. No liability, explicit or implied, shall be extended to W4CY Radio or its employees or affiliates. Any questions or comments should be directed to those show hosts. Thank you for choosing W4CY Radio.
Churchill said, "Those who fail to learn from history are condemned to repeat it." Kevin Hallinan believes that certainly applies to business. Welcome to Winning Business Radio, here at W4CY Radio. That's W4CY.com. And now, your host, Kevin Hallinan.
Thanks for joining in, everyone. My name is Kevin Hallinan. Welcome to Winning Business Radio, now Winning Business TV. We are on W4CY.com, streaming live. The mission of this show, as regular listeners know, is to offer insights and advice to help people avoid the mistakes of others, to learn best practices, the how-tos, the what-tos, the what-not-tos, and to be challenged, and I hope to be inspired by the successes of others. Every successful person that I've ever had a chance to talk to has had some form of failure in their lives and careers. So we want to learn about those. My mission is to help us, even though we all have to get our knees scraped once in a while. Let's keep those scrapes from needing major surgery, I always say. Today, my guest is Honoria DaSilvia-Kilgore, a mom and attorney who's been in practice for over 25 years, the founder of PCCI, or Personal College Counseling. Here's Honoria's bio. With a Bachelor of Arts in Political Science from Regis College and a Juris Doctor from Syracuse University College of Law, Honoria DaSilvia-Kilgore has been practicing law for over 25 years. Her practice focuses on helping clients with numerous financial matters, real estate, bankruptcy, and estate planning. Yet one recurring theme that often crops up is the inadequate planning regarding higher education, which can often lead to negative long-term life consequences. Honoria founded PCCI on the belief that a college education is one of the most important tools that can be utilized for success, and that all college-bound students deserve to get good advice about where they should consider going and how to get there in order to have the best shot at achieving their dreams. This takes preparation, time, and research, which most students and parents and guardians just don't have the time to do on their own. That's where she comes in. It's her belief that it's never too early to start preparing the high school student for success in college and to invest in their future. PCCI's office is headquartered at the law office of Honoria DaSilvia-Kilgore, Esquire, in Raynham, Massachusetts. She lives in Norton, Mass. with her husband, Peter, and until recently, we're going to talk about him for a moment, their 22-year-old recent college graduate son, Nick. She also has two office cats, Percy and Tyson. Honoria, welcome to Winning Business TV.
Hi, Kevin. Thanks for having me.
Oh, you got it. I really appreciate your being here. So tell us just a little bit about Peter and tell us about Nick. And you guys are empty nesters now, right?
We sure are. We went through the whole college, back and forth, the visits and all that.
Yep.
And then we really thought we were going to have this little transition phase when you graduate, come home, kind of get them ready, they go back out. But no, he actually, my son, met all my definitions of success that I use. And he had a job lined up by the end of July when his lease ran out at his school apartment, and transitioned right to living on his own and working. So we spent a lot of time in New Jersey at the end of the summer. Just getting things moved around, but very happy for him, and he's doing well. So that's that.
Glad to hear. What's his degree?
He majored in communications, media and communications, with a minor in. Oh, he's going to show me.
This one's on the final.
With a minor in photography. So he's busy. He's doing stuff, and
cool.
First job out, and we'll see where that goes, and. It's all good.
That's all awesome. Good. And Peter?
Peter is the president of Maximum Weather Instruments in New Bedford, and also the VP of their parent company, Imtra Corporation, that does a lot of marine supplies and things of that nature.
Very cool.
So Yeah, we have absolutely nothing in common when it comes to our professional lives, which is a good thing because I can't really go home and talk about anything.
That's good. That can be very good. That can be very good. By the way, I forgot to mention during my intro that I am sporting this Red Sox jersey today because, as you know, you're in Boston area as well. The Red Sox are playing Game 3 in the ALCS, excuse me, against Houston, and we're thinking all good thoughts. So I didn't think they were going to get past Tampa, but now they're in it against Houston, and 3 more wins, and they go to the World Series. So we're hanging in there. We're thinking good thoughts.
You got to believe, Kevin.
That's
you gotta
right.
Believe.
That's right. We have a thing, my wife and I. She's rooting for them, and I say, they're not going to go anywhere. And it seems to work.
Oh,
and
okay.
I only do it because it's one of those, baseball superstitions,
I gotcha.
All right. So where did you grow up?
I grew up in Taunton pretty much my whole life till I went away to school. And then I went to Regis at Weston in Massachusetts, and then from there to Syracuse, New York, and then eventually back to Massachusetts after I graduated. Did a stint for the U.S. Attorney's Office out there, and then came back here because I had a job with a private firm, and the rest is history. Here I am.
Well, we're going to talk about those. What was the leaning towards poli-sci and American studies? You have a bachelor's in political science and minor in American studies.
Correct. It's funny because, and this happens all the time, and I still see it happening with students. So it goes to my point of don't focus so much, and this is harder for parents to do, honestly, than kids.
Yeah.
Don't focus so much on what you think their job is going to be when they graduate, or that's too narrow-minded. Focus on what they're good at, what environment they should be in, to figure that out and follow their path. Because honestly, when I went to college, I really thought I was going to be a communications major. So I guess
electrical engineer.
Yeah, there you go. So I guess the apple didn't fall too far from the tree in that sense. But I got there and I start taking some of my electives. And then one of my classmates, I still remember this, end of freshman year, said, "You've got to take Dr. Chang's Intro to Poli-Sci. He's so good." I'm like, okay, I have room in my schedule. I'll tick that box off.
Yeah.
And it was like a light bulb moment. Something went off, and I'm like, I really like this. I really like the discourse here. I like what we're doing. And it just set my path in a completely different direction, which was great. I had awesome professors that really were so helpful. And then I remember junior year, and we always used to meet with our advisors, and our advisor would meet one-on-one. And so this is junior year. I'm doing well. Everything's going great. I don't know what I'm going to do yet. I have an internship lined up with a nonprofit in Boston. And she sits me down. She's like, "Okay, so you need to start thinking about letters of recommendation. Let me know what grad school or law schools you're going to go to." And I was like, "What?" She goes, "Well, you're going, right?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I guess I am."
No, the answer is apparently.
Apparently. So it was like, of course you are. Why wouldn't you do that? And it was something that was in the back of my mind, but I hadn't really verbalized it yet. And so with her encouragement, it was great because I'm the first kid in my family to even go on to college, never mind law school after that. So it wasn't something, I mean, my parents were supportive, but it wasn't something that was within their norm. And they really didn't know how to take the lead on that. So it was great to have people in my life that were just genuinely interested in having me go on and do well.
And you chose a small school, Regis. Why was that beneficial for you?
For me, I had already done the really big public high school, graduating from Taunton High. I swear I graduated with kids on my graduation day that I looked to my left, looked to my right, and I'm like, I have never seen you before in my life. So I kind of had that experience. And I wanted something a little different, and I wanted to be near the city. At that point, I didn't really want to go too far away, so that was fairly close. And I loved the school when I got there. They were one of the few at the time that had a communications program. Since then, in the interim, they have shifted their focus a lot into the health sciences. So if I were doing it again, I probably wouldn't go there today.
Right.
But when I went, it was perfect for me. And then again, did the really small school, got recognized and supported and had great experiences. And then I went to Syracuse, which was, again, time to switch the flip,
That's right.
the switch again, and went to now a huge school, but the law school is a subset of that. So it gets smallish quickly, but you're still part of that big campus environment.
Wardrobe change too, a lot of orange.
A lot of orange. A lot of orange. Syracuse is fun in its own way as well. First year of law school is never fun. But after that, it gets a little better. So, and then I came back here because this is where I got my job opportunities. My family was still here. My now husband was still here. So that's kind of how it worked.
So small was that firm, was it Asaran Ellison Devlin?
Asaran Ellison Devlin.
Okay, I knew I'd say that wrong.
Yes.
You were there for 6.5 years, smaller firm?
Yes. There was, I think at the biggest, we had 8 or 9 people.
Yep.
The senior partner at that firm was a bankruptcy trustee. And
okay, that was
really
one of my questions,
That's how I got sucked into it.
Just when I thought I was out, they sucked me back in.
It was the best, though, because in law school, I was doing a clerkship with the U.S. Attorney's Office. So my focus at that point was criminal law.
Right.
But in private practice, I got this other side of what was going on. And I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed helping the people, getting through the stressful time in their lives, and getting them over that and starting fresh, which is what bankruptcy from the consumer side is all about. But we also had plenty of creditor issues. So you flip again and go for the other side. But it was just very interesting to me. And I really enjoyed the client contact that I got with that. And so that became
no doubt providing a lot of support. People in that situation need a lot of support. Again, whether they're a business that's trying to collect the debt or I think more, maybe more extreme, the support that the debtor needs when they're facing bankruptcy.
Yes, it's a very stressful time for all involved. So it's good to be with someone like us, myself, or another bankruptcy professional that really knows the ins and outs of that whole process. It's a whole different court system. It's different rules. So yeah, it's a very niche practice, if you will. But I enjoy that very much, actually. And I still do.
So what, in 99, that was 6.5 years later, you started your own firm. What was behind that decision?
Well, at that point I had just had my son, and I'm like, I need to be my own boss.
Yeah. Flexibility.
A little bit. Yeah. And just, it's just, I think, ingrained in my DNA that I have to be the one that's in charge. So that worked out well for me. Then I had some other partners along the way for a little bit, and I realized I like being a solo practitioner. So for the most part, that's what I do. But part of this whole bankruptcy world, there's, like you said in the intro, there's this ongoing theme that always comes up, and that's the financial borrowing for colleges. For the most part, student loans are not going to be dischargeable in bankruptcy. So even if you go bankrupt, you still owe student loans if they're, something that you had there. And it's a shame, because as I started digging into this, I'm like, but I know I can do better. Why are not more people doing better? And the answers were unsettling, because most of the time it was like, no one advised me. I didn't know. I didn't know I could do this. I had no idea if I went here.
Especially with parents that hadn't been to college themselves, right?
Yeah, it's very odd that, that continues to happen, right? And I think a lot of it has to do with borrowing is too easy. You have your guaranteed student loans, but those are very small. And then you start layering, and people don't realize you're talking about real money, and you have to pay that back. It's not monopoly money here that they're giving you, and interest starts at different rates while you're still in school and capitalizes, which then means you're paying interest on interest on interest. It can get very big and balloon very quickly if you're not on top of that. So I'm not saying that borrowing's bad completely. Sure. I'm just saying within reason. And
well, there has to be some wisdom there, and there has to be some a plan, right?
A plan. And
all right, we're going to come back and talk about that. Sorry to interrupt. We're going to take a break right here. We'll be back in just a couple minutes with Honoria DaSilvia-Kilgore.
You're listening to Winning Business Radio with Kevin Hallinan on W4CY Radio. That's W4CY.com. Don't go away. More helpful information is coming right up, right here on Winning Business Radio.
Hey everyone, I'm Jimmy Star, the king of cool and your host of the Jimmy Star Show, the entertainment radio show for all you cool and unique people looking to get a behind-the-scenes peek at what's going on in the entertainment industry. Listen in as me and my cool crowd of co-hosts bring you celebrity guests, new music, and the good times in fashion, entertainment, and pop culture. Right, everybody? Right! Tune in live Wednesdays at 3 p.m. Eastern on W4CY.com.
Hey, this is Kenny Wayne Shepherd, and you're listening to W4CY Radio.
Hey, this is Rebel Medler. Join me for In Your Face on W4CY.com, Tuesdays at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
Bestian Wealth Management is a second-generation, family-owned financial planning and wealth advisory firm. In addition to coordinating complex business and personal planning needs, our firm takes a sincere interest in your well-being and personal values. Find us at bestgenwm.com. That's bestgenwm.com, where we consider all our clients an extension of our family. Advisory services offered through Commonwealth Financial Network, a registered investment advisor.
And now back to Winning Business Radio with Kevin Hallinan, presenting exciting topics and expert guests with one goal in mind, to help you succeed in business. Here once again is Kevin Hallinan.
Welcome back. And of course, we have Honoria DaSilvia-Kilgore. I'm impressed that I can say the name with the rolled R.
You're very good.
I was wanting to make you happy about that. So, but I want to get to, you spent, and I've had this conversation with you, full disclosure, we've known each other for a few years. I haven't seen you for a while, but you traveled with your son, who was a high school fencer, right? Fencing
Correct.
Competitions. Was that part of what sort of opened your eyes to college planning? Or
Very
where did
much
that come?
so.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes, because we were traveling all over the U.S. All through high school as early as freshman year. And I'm like, well, I don't know when else I'm going to be in Columbus, Ohio. So let's look at Ohio State or whatever was in the area. If it was in the area.
I think it's the Ohio State.
Oh, perhaps you're right. It could be. No offense to all of those people out there.
Right.
I was going to say Buckeyes, but I'm not sure.
You're right.
Yeah. Okay. So I would drag the kid to anything within reasonable distance if we had downtime. But and then as we started moving through the process, and he starts to get noticed by some coaches, and then you start talking to coaches, and then you start seeing what's kind of going on behind the scenes a little bit more. And it's very, very helpful. So by the time my son applied to school, he'd seen more than the average person had seen. Sounds for sure. Like yeah. And, you know, he knew what the difference was between an urban, suburban, small, large, in the city, with a campus, without a campus, all these different variations. Mm-hmm. That actually meant something to him. He knew the difference. He'd already experienced that. He'd been on these campuses. So he applied to 3 schools. Not usually what I tell my students to do because they haven't zeroed in quite that much. Mm-hmm. But we were very, very focused. And I'm like, wow. And by the time we were done and he got early action and got in somewhere, The coach really wanted him, and we got money. And I'm like, we don't qualify for financial aid, and we still got money. I'm like, okay, I got you. I'll take that discount. Thank you very much.
Sure.
Why would you want to pay more if you don't have to? Again, without compromising on the academics and the quality.
Now that money was either merit money or athletic scholarship, or what did that look like? It wasn't aid that you had, loans that you had to pay back.
Correct.
Right.
So, and that's a huge difference, and people don't seem to really get that interplay. You have financial aid, okay, which is based on need, as determined by the FAFSA form, and about 300 colleges also use the CSS form.
And that's essentially, if I could summarize for people, that's essentially income and expense, or income and worth or expense of the family, correct? Family size. Income,
assets, investments, basically your financial portfolio. Okay. The FAFSA is very much more streamlined, fairly easy to get through, ties right into your tax returns, tells you what lines to look at, fill it in. It's not bad. The CSS, on the other hand, is torture. But if you're applying,
and you mean that in only the nicest way.
The nicest way possible. It really does take a lot of time and attention. And if you're, an upper income person with more involved finances, it's just a lot to do. But it's necessary. And here's where people start making huge mistakes. For those who have financial need, absolutely, of course, they know they're going to fill out a FAFSA and maybe a CSS. And they think that's where the analysis starts. But what they've missed is, do they fit in for merit aid? And that's really what I hunt for, because I can't affect a family's financials. It is what it is.
Right.
But I know what bear to poke to get more, right? And if you have financial need coupled with merit aid, you can get some amazing packages. Now, you have the middle and upper income families who are like, I'm not going to qualify for financial aid, because you can do your little net calculators. And of course, they want you to pay $1 million a year. So they know they're not going to qualify. So they don't fill anything out. And now they have disqualified themselves from getting any merit aid. Because a lot of schools, they want to see first procedurally, they don't fit this bucket of money, but this student is someone we want here, and we have other sources that we could maybe help them choose us.
All right, pause right there. That means I'm probably ahead of myself, or ahead of you with your story here, but that means that the family, the student probably would have wanted to prepare a little earlier than, end of junior year for this, because they got to create a picture, right?
I'm a huge advocate of setting that foundation as early as possible in the high school time frame. And
not everybody's going to be an athlete, but the athletes need to prepare. If you're a non-athlete, you can do other things, right?
Correct. You always want to pursue your passions and be good at it. I think a lot of people think I need to do 10 activities and show that, I'm involved in a million things.
Yeah.
And okay, fine. Are you good at any of them? Or is this just a one-day thing to pad your resume? We're not interested in that. Do something that is meaningful and that you excel at. It doesn't matter if it's athletics or something else.
Can they be entrepreneurial? Do they have to be charitable?
No, not at all. It can be anything. The point is, when you're looking for schools, and I say this to folks, this best fit concept is a two-way street. It's not just about what makes the particular university attractive to the student. What makes the student attractive to the university? And will they value that? And when I say will they value that, I mean in dollars, right? If that's the focus of our search. Or sometimes you might just be looking for where's the right fit, and the financial part isn't as important. But for me, I want all three things. And my three goals are to get you into the best fit, where the environment is going to help you succeed socially as well as academically, and to not overpay for that privilege. I need to hit those 3 goals to consider this a good fit for a student. And then, but again, every family's needs different. Every student profile is different. Like right now, I have someone who is going to graduate from a vocational school.
Mm-hmm.
Not my favorite background going for college, but here we are. So does that mean he can't go to college? Of course not. But the focus is so different. Where he's coming from, where his grades are at, and where he could fit in and do well. It's a different creature, right?
But there are what, like 4,000 or so colleges in the U.S.?
Yes, there's about 4,000. And so for people who get, I don't know, taken in by the glam or, just mesmerized by certain names for whatever reason, I'm like, snap out of it. You can't tell me that out of 4,000, you can only think of 2 that would be perfect. That's silly, and people, I think, can't help it a little bit because, if you're not getting any guidance, you're going to just know who you know because of either you're in the area or somebody you knew or somebody went there, or they have a great football team, so I've heard of them, and I don't hunt for schools that way. I hunt for schools based on the metrics that make sense for this particular student and their family, and then create a universe of schools and see where that leads, not the other way around. So a lot of times kids are looking, and the only advice, barely, if you call it that, from guidance counselors is, oh, go online, check this program or that. And then the first questions they always ask, do you want a big school, a little school? Do you want to be in a city? Do you want to be in a suburb? Do you want to be in the country? Blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, how do you know? How do you know the answer to that question if you haven't been to any of those yet?
So let me pause on that. There are school guidance counselors that probably have a big workload. They're probably very passionate. They really want to help. How do you and what do you, how do you do what you do, and what do you do that they can't or aren't able to?
Everything.
Everything.
Because basically this is what's happening at the school level. If your kid's doing great and they're doing well, they meet with their guidance counselor maybe once a semester or term. Hey, well, looks good. Pat on the back. Next
Slam
kid.
dunk. Yeah.
Slam dunk. They don't have to spend time with you. You're fine. You're on autopilot. Go away.
Yep.
Other kids that may have other issues, they're going to get more attention. But that's not college planning. They're not sitting there trying to figure out where you should go, why you should go there, and, oh, by the way, can your family afford that particular institution? Because that's the other side of the coin. It's not just about getting in. How are you going to pay for it once you get there? And if the answer is all on loan, that school's too expensive for you.
Do you see, and maybe your crystal ball isn't this clear, do you see tuitions resetting at any point in time?
There have been some resets actually in the last few years before pandemic. I think the world is going to start referring to itself as pre-COVID and post-COVID.
I'm sure that. Yeah.
But pre-COVID, there were some adjustments, specifically with colleges and they play this game on some of them. The tuition is so high that you get this like a terrible sticker shock.
Yeah.
And then you just go away. And they finally realized that, because what they would do is they have this huge sticker price, but they have all this aid available. And so your actual net cost would not be anywhere near sticker price. But if you scare away all your potential consumers, you're not going to get that far. So some schools did adjust. And so instead of giving out these huge financial packages, their sticker price is closer to reality.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so that's an adjustment there. But that is something that, again, I think is a mistake when looking at schools, is to automatically discount an institution because the money looks too scary.
Mm.
What I do is, if that is a good fit for your student, academically and otherwise, and they have funds available for what makes this student stand out, that's where you take a shot. A lot of times it's the private institutions that can make college the most affordable.
Interesting. I was going to ask you, I want to take another break, our second break right here, but I want to ask you private versus public when that makes sense, All right, we'll be back in just a couple of minutes with Honoria DaSilva, almost blew it, Kilgore.
You're listening to Winning Business Radio with Kevin Hallinan on W4CY Radio. That's W4CY.com. Don't go away. More helpful information is coming right up, right here on Winning Business Radio.
Have you ever dreamed of having your own radio show? Well, W4CY Radio makes dreams come true. You can be a radio personality on the #1 ranked internet radio station in West Palm Beach, Florida. We can be heard in 105 countries and all U.S. states. Promote your business, earn up to $10,000 per month and more. It's all up to you. Have fun and be heard. Call 561-506-4031. That's 561-506-4031. Start your radio show now.
This is Rebel Mother. Join me for In Your Face on W4CY.com, Tuesdays at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
Bestian Wealth Management is a second-generation, family-owned financial planning and wealth advisory firm. In addition to coordinating complex business and personal planning needs, our firm takes a sincere interest in your well-being and personal values. Find us at bestgenwm.com. That's bestgenwm.com, where we consider all our clients an extension of our family. Advisory services offered through Commonwealth Financial Network, a registered investment advisor.
Hey, this is Johnny Three Tears from Hollywood Undead, and you're listening to W4CY Radio.
I do whatever it takes to make it break through. Anything I face to face with, it's true.
And now back to Winning Business Radio with Kevin Hallinan, presenting exciting topics and expert guests with one goal in mind, to help you succeed in business. Here once again is Kevin Hallinan.
We are back with Honoria DaSilvia-Kilgore, a mom and a practicing attorney for over 25 years, and the founder of PCCI, or Personal College Counseling, Inc. So talk about private versus public when that makes sense. And I know it's all individualized for the student, best fit there, but when would private versus state versus private make sense?
Well, I always take what I call a portfolio approach.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not all private, all public. Again, it's about where the programs are, and let it come out in the wash and see what you're looking for. Or if you have like students that are interested in big athletic programs, whether they're an athlete or just want to be in that rah-rah atmosphere, chances are you're going to be looking at big public universities, those D1 competitors, because that's part of the environment that they want. So that's going to lend you to look at certain schools that have those programs, but that's part of their portfolio that they want to look at. But one thing I always like to do is, regardless of what state you're in, because one of the reasons I love this, by the way, is unlike my law practice, I am not limited jurisdictionally to Massachusetts.
That was going to be a question. Good. I'm glad you answered that.
So wherever you are, it doesn't matter. But I always think you should have, if possible, some choices of your own state's public schools.
Yeah.
In Massachusetts, we're blessed. We have wonderful public institutions. I'm not knocking on them at all. It's all about where you fit, what your metrics are. But especially for families who aren't really going to qualify for much financial aid, and you can figure that out on your FAFSA. So if your FAFSA says they expect you to kick in $40,000 plus, well, any state school you go to in Massachusetts, you're going to be planning on paying sticker price. Know that. Do not be shocked by this as senior year comes along. Like, uh-oh, now what? So you need to plan accordingly as the parent. But knowing that sets the baseline. So now when you're comparing packages and you're looking at other schools, it's very possible that either an out-of-state state school or a private college, after everything's factored in, can come close to your net cost at your local public institution. So for example, I have a student right now who is a freshman at University of Rhode Island because he loves it. But University of Rhode Island, as an out-of-state Massachusetts student, with his academic scholarship, ended up being a net cost less than it would have been at UMass Amherst. Wow. Same kid, same profile, different school, different numbers.
Interesting.
Right? So it's not necessarily an out-of-state school is going to cost you more. It does to start with because you pay more as an out-of-state student. But now let's see where the other stuff fits in. And of course, an out-of-state school wants to brag about having students from all over the country. And that's something that diversifies your portfolio to them. It's one of the easiest things to do when talking to parents and students. If nothing else, make yourself appealing to the college by not just going to the one down the street. They have a million ones of you. What makes you stand out there? If the question is nothing, well, then why aren't we expanding our search parameters here? I like to be as open to possibilities as possible. I will never geographically restrain where the kids should look. The only geographic restraints I put on my students are the ones they themselves or their parents put on them.
Yeah.
Because it opens up your world so much if you can just get out of your little bubble and look a little further. I mean, we're in New England, so okay, let's even say 3 hours. In a 3-hour radius of where I am, I can hit 6 states or more?
Yeah.
Why aren't you looking in this parameter and beyond,
So this really is individualized.
Absolutely. Every single kid gets individual attention, which is why I like doing what I do. Because I don't have 200 kids in my freshman class that I have to process or whatever. I can take my time. And I like to do that. And I get a question a lot, which is, well, how often do you meet with them? How long do you spend with them? And the answer to that is as often and as necessary throughout the whole process. So why wouldn't you start sooner instead of later trying to cram all this in, when if we start sooner, we can make sure the high school foundation is set properly. They're taking the right courses. They're going in the right direction.
Yeah.
I am meeting with them once a month, every couple of months, whatever it is, to make sure we're staying on track. And we're starting our very preliminary search. Starts big, and by the time junior year ends, it's very focused. Ideally, I want my kids doing all their college searches sophomore and junior year. I want those SATs done early. If you just wait for when the high school tells you to do it, you're behind the 8 ball. Okay, because the SAT is a tool. It's not the end all be all, but they put so much stress on these kids to do well, and they're not completely prepared, or they think they are and they're not. There's certain techniques you should be using when you're taking them. And generally speaking, kids do better the more they take them. So why would you wait until you don't have the opportunity to use that tool to your advantage?
So you're helping with essays?
Absolutely. Yeah, one of the things I like to do in the summer before senior year is get all the essays done for the Common App and any additional essays for schools we're targeting. Some of them will require something extra. Also, there's different deadlines for different considerations for scholarships and merit aid, and some of them are very early. Oftentimes November 1st to be considered for everything automatically. And if you don't even know that till you start thinking about it as a senior, you've missed it. you've just poof, it's gone. It doesn't come back. So being aware of deadlines way in advance, knowing what to start prepping.
Yeah, one of my kids applied to late because he had changed his mind. And that's okay. Kids do that, right? I've done that once before. No. And he applied to Mass Maritime. Great school.
Absolutely.
But he got waitlisted. And I'm telling you, we tried to pull strings. We knew a couple people that knew a couple people, and there was nothing they could do. And I know you know this, but for the viewers and listeners, Mass Maritime has a very small enrollment per freshman class because they do sea term. They take kids out on the boat, right, on the ship. And he would have been a first semester spring student, would have missed sea term. It just messed them all up. And he was going to play baseball and football there. And he ended up actually going to the Marine Corps and getting his degree after the Marines, which worked out really well. Thank you. Thank you, U.S. government and GI Bill. But yeah, because he changed his mind, missed some of those deadlines, and it didn't work out well.
It's really hard. I had somebody that had thought about using my services, but it was already like senior year. They were referred to me by someone I knew because they got into a school they couldn't afford and they didn't get into any of their other choices.
Wow.
And I'm like, it's too late for me to help you with that. But had you backed it up a little bit,
yeah.
I'm like, there's a reason why you apply to schools. They're not wish lists, right? You should be applying to a school, in my terminology, that's on target and maybe a little bit of a reach. One thing I have to readjust mindsets on my first meeting, because I know that's how people talk about schools, is I hate the term safety school. I
never liked that too. I know.
I don't look for safety schools. If you're going to a safety school, you've done something wrong, because by definition, it means you're only going there because you couldn't get in somewhere else.
Yeah.
So you might as well go here and waste mom and dad's money just the same to be miserable. That makes no sense to me. I only want my kids applying where they love it, and they'd be happy to go there if they got in. And oh, by the way, your final decision should be based on who gave you the most money. That's what I shoot for.
Let's see. Deadlines. We talked about. Oh, college tours. You don't go on those. You help them with the process, though?
Yes. I often set them up, try to get them interviews where available. College tours are so important for two reasons.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you.
Yeah, for sure. Once we get to that point, that's kind of like the icing on the cake, right? Don't go tour a college just because it's there, unless you're traveling like I was. But a lot of people, they go because why not? They have no reason why they're looking at that college. They don't know why they're there. It's just pretty. It better be pretty. You're going to pay a lot of money to be there. So they all should look really good.
The food's really good now, too. Not like when I was in school.
And a lot of them, UMass Amherst usually gets top billing on that.
Yeah.
But you should only be going to schools, in my opinion, that we have already targeted, that we have done our research for, and there's a reason why you should go there. Not because it's either down the street or Joe Schmo likes it.
Yeah, if you're going overnight, you're going to spend several hundred, if not $1,000 in visiting. Better be worth it, right?
Well, if I have students visiting what I call faraway schools, so in my terminology, I consider a school local if you can get there and back in the same day driving.
Okay.
That might not be your definition of local, but for me it is. If it's going to take an overnight, I consider that a faraway school. And when we start looking at faraway schools, before we ever even think about booking that trip, I want to see if we can do loops. Loops make sense. If you're looking at three schools, if you're looking at like 3 schools in Pennsylvania or Ohio or Michigan or whatever, plan it. So you will take an extended weekend or a couple of days and you're going to hit all those. And then you're done with them. Right?
We have to wrap this up. I want to give you a chance. The website's been on the crawl. It's personal. I just blew it. I had personal college. No, I got it. Personalcollegecounseling.com. There it is. Thanks, Roxy. What viewers or listeners should reach out to you and why?
I think the parents of any high school kid up to seniors in October. I don't take seniors after October.
Okay.
I just don't find it's overly productive to do what I do, because I'm staking my reputation on every student I take that I'm going to get them good results. And starting that late after that there's only so much I can do at that point. Just being realistic.
Well, thank you. Thank you very much. She's Honoria DaSilvia-Kilgore. The website is personalcollegecounseling.com. I'd encourage you, if you have a high school student, reach out to her, see if she can help you. Thank you for being here, Honoria. I really appreciate it. It's really good to see you again.
Thank you. It was so much fun.
Oh, you got it. And thanks, everybody, for listening. This is a show about business and business challenges. If you've got concerns about the growth of your company, feel free to reach out to me at winningbusinessradio.com, or you can drop me a note, Kevin@winningbusinessradio.com. Search Facebook, go to the website. Our company is called Winning Incorporated. We're part of Sandler Training. We develop sales teams into high achievers and sales leaders into true coaches and mentors. We're not right for everybody, but who knows, maybe we should have a conversation. Thank you, as always, to Engineer Roxy. I'll be traveling. I'll be back next Monday. That's last week's note. I didn't change it. We'll be back next Monday, October 25th, 4 p.m. We'll do it all again. Thanks for listening. Thanks for being here. And thanks for watching, everybody.
You've been listening to Winning Business Radio with your host, Kevin Hallinan. If you missed any part of this episode, the podcast is available on Talk4 Podcasting and iHeartRadio. For more information and questions, go to winningbusinessradio.com or check us out on social media. Tune in again next week and every Monday at 4 p.m. Eastern Time to listen live to Winning Business Radio on W4CY Radio, W4CY.com. Until then, let's succeed where others have failed and win in business with Kevin Hallinan and Winning Business Radio.